You're watching Medfield TV.
With respect to collective bargaining with the MTA, an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body. Discussing stipends. At this moment, we're opening it up to public input. Alrighty. Approval of minutes, we don't have any at the moment. And new business, recognition of 2019 retirees.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you know, this year at our last meeting, we recognized, well, the first meeting in June, I should say, recognized our retirees. So it's always bittersweet that we're so excited for them to start the next chapter in their lives where we can see them go. So I want to just have them come up. I'm going to give them a plaque, and we can do a picture afterwards. Does that make sense? So our first retiree is Suzanne Cooney, who has been a reading specialist at Memorial School for 18 years.
I'm sorry, Dr. Martin, is Suzanne going to stay up there for a photo op?
Oh. Yeah, if you can stay right there, it'd be great.
Sorry.
Our next retiree is Susan Tilden, who has been our speech and language pathologist at the high school and Memorial for 14 years. Next person is Trina Snyder, who's been our psychologist at the high school for 17 years. And last but not least, actually, before I get to the last one, I want to recognize a couple other folks that aren't here tonight but are also retiring. Heidi Crable, up to 25 years as a grade 4 teacher at Dale Street. Bev Gordon, 26 years as special educator at Dale Street. Dan Kirby, 16 years as a math teacher at Blake Middle. And our final person in attendance, Donna Olson. Career, 7 of those in Medfield. So congratulations. Yes, with the plaque. You can the world very quickly. Anytime now. All right, there you go.
Thank you again for your years of dedication to our students and our families. Thank you. We miss you. Thank you. Now, second on the agenda is the proposed policy changes, first reading.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mary Pearl is here this evening. She's going to go over a couple of those as the first reading. And we've looked at changes to the non-discrimination grievance policy, policy PCE, and the changes that were recommended by our attorney at that point then triggered changes in the 4 below. So I think that's why I have thrown that in there. So in your packet, you have the formatted changes in there. So Mary, can you just give a quick overview?
So yes, you'll see there are conversion proposals for the main part of the non-discrimination policy and grievance procedures. It's kind of trying to update to indicate some of the new ways that things are going to go through for people to bring a grievance and the actual procedures that would need to be followed for that. And then it would kind of update also my information to make sure that that is within the non-discrimination policy as well. And as Dr. Marsden was referencing, each one of these policy changes will then trigger kind of the necessary changes based off of those in the non-discrimination on the basis of sex, non-discrimination policy, bullying and harassment, as well as the sexual harassment policy. I know Dr. Marsden was hoping to meet with the policy subcommittee this summer to kind of go into these a little bit more in depth, because as you'll see, there's a lot. Some are just formatting, but some of it is kind of removing some of the language and making sure that the exact procedures that need to be done and completed for grievance are easily understood and a little bit more spelled out so that people know where to turn and who to turn to.
Look forward to seeing you this summer.
Yes, look forward to it as well. Thank you.
It's been almost a week. Since
I know, I really missed
about
it.
anything.
Super. Next, SEL Task Force.
Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, again, thank you very much for all your guys' service to the kids over all these years for lots of different districts and especially in ours, so congratulations to the kids. I don't know if everybody knows exactly the genesis of the task force or social emotional learning task force, how it came to be. I won't give you the long history of it, but basically when we started to meet with Jeff a couple of years ago, we were trying to figure out what do the kids need, how are we going to get some of the soft skills that are very important to us in our district, and what does that look like? So we started off with the question, what is SEL? So social emotional learning is the process in which children and adults acquire and effectively apply the knowledge, attitudes, and skills necessary to understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. So in thinking about what that might look like, that could go from anywhere in the range from, if you were able to see any of the biography from Kate Sincata, who was just awarded into our Hall of Excellence. She was graduated in 2002. And I was thinking, like, well, what are the two ends that we're really trying to get to with this SEL stuff? So Kate Sincata, if you don't know, she has formed a company that teaches local women locals, but mostly women, how to make these businesses in Ghana that provide drinking water to, like, so far 84,000 people that have no drinking water clean out in Africa. And so she's figured out how to figure out where the need is, how to help people, how to go to those most in need. And if you think about all those different things that we just talked about, she pretty much hits all that. Not everybody's going to be cancer, certainly. We're not asking anybody to ever be that way. But if we can even get to teach some of these soft skills around conflict resolution, how to make and maintain positive friendships and relationships, how to follow through with your accountability and responsibility, then those are some of the things that are starting to become just as important as the mainstream hardcore basic food groups academically. So that's kind of where we're going. So some of the benefits of SEL, there's better performance with kids that have gone through SEL training. The research shows that there's an 11% increase in scores when they've had that kind of instruction. Improved attitude and behavior with an increased devotion to schoolwork and better classroom behavior, far more negative consequences for kids that have gone through SEL instruction in different curriculum things, and a lot of reduced emotional distress. And we're seeing some of that. We have a lot of kind of high anxiety, sociologically, I think, but in our town as well. And so we're trying to figure out how to combat that. So what is the SEL Task Force? So the SEL Task Force, like I said, was created 2 years ago, and it is made up of, we have students, we have parents, teachers, administration, our school resource officer, lots of building principals. We are the co-chairs, Susan and I, Dr. Marsden. We have school committee members. We've had 3, we're at 2 right now. And so we all had to take a look at some of the things that we originally were looking at to shore up for the strategic plan. So we meet about either every other week or every third week, or sometimes, depending on the schedule, every month. and we have broken it down into 4 different subcommittees. So the goals are to examine and analyze the needs of the district in the following years through subcommittee work. So we look this year specifically at school scheduling, SEL curriculum needs, student wellness, and staff wellness needs. So, but just to back up real quick, so if you ever want to see the minutes or some of the stuff that we're working on within the task force, there is a tab. There's a tab on our SEL website that you can access that stuff. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that we talked about in our school schedule subcommittee, and then I'm going to let Susan kind of go and talk about the rest. So when we talk about the school schedule, it seems, if you've never done it, it seems like it would be pretty easy. Like, okay, just start later, end earlier, and get all the buses and do it, change the times, research this, late start. It is very, very, very complicated. It is, if you've never done it. I didn't know what I didn't know either when I was starting to kind of mess around in different districts, how complicated it is. There's so many moving parts. So I'll just kind of explain some of the highlights that led to what ends up being a kind of a cornucopia of different subjects that get kind of mushed into the school scheduling subcommittee. We started Challenge Success this year as a district, most specifically as a high school. Most of you know kind of by now what we're doing Challenge Success-wise, but we set a team of administrators and students and parents out to Stanford to be trained at Stanford by the Challenge Success team. And basically our goal there, and the reason I bring that up is because a large portion of what they do is they look at school schedules, they look at start times, they look at homework stuff, they look at all of the different things that kids are dealing with every day as it pertains to school. So we are looking as a kind of community to redefine how our community defines success. So that's one of those things. And that could be its own school committee thing. And I know I only have a couple minutes here, so I won't get off onto the tangent there, but that's been really good for us to be able to kind of examine some of the things that are important to us as a district. Faculty and students were surveyed about the current schedule in order to determine themes of most importance. Basically, most people felt that the rotating periods, modified long blocks, and 5-minute passing time all enhanced the experience. Midterms were reduced to just foreign language and math this year. That was a big one that came out of that scheduling subcommittee. And just recently, within the last couple of days, it's been decided that the foreign language department will now schedule their midterms on a kind of an alternative schedule so that the math midterms and the foreign language midterms won't take place at the same time, which then alleviates some of the stress around kids trying to get that done. Another good positive byproduct of that is that we used to give half days, 3 or 4 half days, and so with a lot of instruction time lost. And so we got those days back, and it's been a pretty positive thing. The kids are feeling that less stress. There's always give and take with all of it, but a little less stress around the midterms. Also in that mismatched guidance, counselors at the high school started today actually meeting individually with each kid in 8th grade to make that kind of personal connection. It doesn't necessarily sound exactly like a school schedule, but it all is wrapped up into the same overview of trying to make sure that we're meeting the needs of each kid. So starting getting those basic connections is kind of where we're going to make those inroads as far as we're looking at. Study halls are being offered this year to grades 11 and 12 as an elective, which is new here. A lot of talk happens around studies, and some schools have them, some schools don't. Some schools are trying to get our schedules, some we're trying to get other schools' schedules. So there's a lot of kind of exploration that goes, but we are going to offer study as an elective for 11th to 12th graders, and then we'll reassess our needs, the popularity of that, and kind of what the kids need moving on. So there's been a lot of exploration around that. And again, we're just going to keep researching the schedules of different schools. The school scheduling subcommittee is large and very dedicated to trying to figure out what the basic needs are so we can have the best experience in the prospect.
One of the other subcommittees this year was on social emotional learning curriculum. So we began with a district-wide survey, and we reached out to staff in every building and asked them what their experience was with social emotional learning curriculum and what questions they had, what they tell us what you know about social emotional learning. We really wanted to
get a barometer on what people already knew before we decided to make any decisions about what to change. One of the decisions that this subcommittee made was that it absolutely needs to be a planned sequential approach. That students transition so frequently from building to building that it was really important that not that everyone needs to use the same curriculum, not that all 5 schools need to use the same curriculum, but that all 5 schools need to plan their curriculum in concert with one another so that there can be common language for students as they transition from school to school. And certainly the outcomes should be the same. How they get to those outcomes does not need to be the same, but the basic social emotional learning outcomes that we as a district value most. So that's work in progress. Another decision or recommendation that was made was that this will require professional development for staff as well as for parents. There's a lot of parent education that we need around social emotional learning curricula because it's something that most of us as adults did not have in school as a formal curriculum. Next year, grades 4 and 5 will pilot Harmony curriculum, which is a Sanford product that is actually a K-8 program, and we're just piloting 4 and 5 at Dale Street for next year. We then further sent out more requests for more in-depth information from the K-3 teachers specifically about Open Circle, which is the SEL curriculum they've been using for a number of years, many years. And we asked them, what they liked about Open Circle, what they feel the gaps are with Open Circle, and what they felt they needed in order for Open Circle to be more effective. And the overwhelming response was that Open Circle is a really great program, we just don't have the time to implement it. And so what we're going to need to look at is how in the vast, broad range of responsibilities that grade level teachers have at the elementary level to include so much content, where can we find time to make this really important program be able to be implemented with fidelity. And there will be a group of teachers K-12 this summer working on an R&D project to look at social emotional learning curriculum. And on the right are just 3 icons, just 3 images from the programs that are currently in place: Open Circle, Sanford, Harmony, and Project Happiness at Lake. There are some proposed additions to the elementary report card, and this relates not to a specific curriculum, but to the significant emphasis that social emotional learning has with, across the board at all schools. So there are some proposed social emotional learning outcomes that students will be graded on the report card on. At Lake and at the high school, there are also social emotional skills that are included in the feedback that students receive and parents receive on report cards. So there'll be new, those of you with high school students, you'll see next year new comments that you won't have seen before, and instead of saying, pleasure to have in class, it will be more specific and targeted about what it is that student is doing. So those are still in work, but it's pretty close. So there was a subcommittee on student wellness, and last year the focus of this subcommittee was on homework, looking at homework, and ultimately that subcommittee proposed a homework policy change, which did end up coming to the school committee, which you guys worked on in the past last year. Over the summer, I guess. This year, the focus of the student wellness subcommittee was really on cell phone use at the high school. After much research looking at a variety of things that are causing a lot of stress for students, this group decided that this was a topic worth researching further and finding out, getting more to the bottom of what is creating issues for students and what can be done. And on this slide presentation, there's a link to a video that students made, which is terrific, that if you have a chance to look and see. And the group is looking to create a resource for families. So this is an ongoing work, but they're also hoping to look at best practices for how to monitor and utilize technology within the classrooms. And then the last subcommittee this year was on staff wellness, and some of the things that we've seen change, not necessarily as a result of this subcommittee's work, but that as this subcommittee is working toward improving staff wellness, at the same time, there's other people outside of this committee also working in concert, and some noticeable reduction in email to staff. Staff has a really hard time while they're working and serving students to be responding to emails. and getting emails from students, from parents, from administrators, from colleagues, never mind the other email that we don't even want. It's really difficult to respond and not have that cut into time with students. So that has been noticeably reduced, and that's really been appreciated. This particular subcommittee did a session at Digital Learning Day, or Design Your Learning Day this year, called Self-Care for Educators. And some yoga classes have been taking place throughout in several schools right on campus, and that has been really appreciated by staff, that they don't have to go somewhere else to have yoga, but that it's right there in their building. That's something that is really appreciated. We have the opportunity to take a half-day sick day or a half-day personal day, which means that we're only missing half a day of school instead of missing an entire day of school, which is great, because we're in the classroom with our own students. Sometimes a teacher might have an appointment that they have to make, and it might be at 9 in the morning, and they shouldn't have to miss a full day of school for that. So that's been seen as a real improvement to the morale for staff. And there are 2 teacher-directed half-days that were new this year, and are really looking forward to that for next year, because that allows teachers who are professionals to have a little professional autonomy and have some investment in the decision-making about what their professional development needs are. So that's also done a lot for staff morale. And one of the recommendations that this subcommittee made as well was there are teachers that are always looking to do graduate classes, take graduate classes, and you have to either take them online or go drive somewhere else to go get them. And having classes that are housed right here in Medfield, whether they're taught by Medfield staff or whether they're taught by outside people but housed here, it allows groups of teachers to attend together if they choose, and they can collaborate and make it something that's meaningful to your team in the building, so you can all be working together on something. So more to come, but those are some of this, kind of a snapshot of some of the progress of the Sel Task Force this year.
Thank you very much.
Do you have any questions?
Is there a timeline for, particularly in the K, you mentioned open circle, that's, from what I'm hearing, is somewhat adopted, but not really for time purposes and whatnot. Is there a timeline or a goal set by us or by administration on implementation for a K program of some kind? Because that continuity transition from school to school is absolutely something I'm experiencing firsthand and hearing about numerous people, and outside of other curricular areas, I realize we have new staff coming up with that. Has there been a set goal of some kind to make a decision by a certain time for something like
I think
that?
that's part of the pilot that we're working on this year, one of the things that, in addition to the Harmony and grades 4 5, there will also be some teachers in grades 4 5 that are already trained in open circle, and they're going to do that as well with kind of comparison between what Harmony and open circle does. The open circle is one that has a great track record over a number of years. It's recommended by Castle, developed right here in Massachusetts, so it's a really good program. It's stood the test of time. I think that we've invested money over the years in training that too. I think that's something that we're really hoping that it works out for us, because that's a really where it go. But Sanford and Harmony is also something that I know they've done some research on. Doesn't cost us anything. And so whether it's a combination of both or whatever, I think that's something that we're going to focus on next year. So probably this time next year, we'll have a good sense of what that is.
And I don't want to leave you, with the impression that open circle is not being implemented. It actually is being implemented, just not with the fidelity that we would like, and that teachers themselves agree it deserves. But almost every teacher, I think every teacher we love is trained. I think almost all elementary teachers who have been here for a few years have been trained, and it is being implemented. It's just
Culturally,
yeah.
Training is one thing, culture is what implementation is.
And I think the other point is important in terms of the structure of our district too. There aren't many districts that are structured like ours. We have Hopkinton, we have Medfield, there might be a couple others. But most places have the neighborhood school model where kids go there K to 5 and they stay there those 4 years. They're not transitioning every couple of years like our kids do. So that's an important point that we've been talking about administratively a lot, that how difficult transitions are for kids in our district. And so much so, a couple of years ago, we were doing our survey for strategic plan. I threw in there an extra question about how satisfied are you with our grade configuration. Figuring I'd get some data to help us out with that. Not so much. People, it was like 87% thought it was great the way it is. So, I think it's something that you don't know what you don't know. This is what you're used to. And there are many benefits to having 13 years of students together, but there's definitely some drawbacks of transitioning everything through. So, hopefully if we get to be in a situation where the new Dale Street becomes a 3, 4, 5 school, and we put it back over wheel like we'd like to do, there'd be a campus setting there that would change things a little bit too, with transitions, but it's a fair point, no doubt.
I have a question, more about the school start times and schedulings, and I completely agree that it's a difficult kind of puzzle. But that being said, is it just an ongoing study you're doing, or is there any goal to maybe just make an implementation at some point, or to change to later start?
Well, I think certainly we've been looking, we've talked to a lot of other districts, a lot of other high schools that have seen varying levels of success with their later start times. So that the research can be read in a number of different ways on how it all plays out. I don't think there's anybody that would disagree that a little bit of extra time would certainly help our adolescents based on brain chemistry and brain science. But I think we're just still in the exploring, trying to figure out exactly what makes sense. I don't think we have a set timeline. But again, like there's a million things that that I don't even know still, that I think I do. Like if the busing situations and the moving everybody else. You move one in a district like this with so many different schools, you move one thing, now you create a domino effect that's very hard to get your hands around. But still, it's an ongoing exploration.
Do you see a lot of schools around us making the changes? Some.
There's a couple.
But Ashland has done it for the longest, and they're still working out the kinks. A lot of people are kind of aspirational, like, yes, we're gonna change the school times, but they're in the future, and they haven't actually seen a lot of the difficulties that come with it, or they're in their first year and they haven't seen it. So as much as there's this emphasis around, we need to change school start times, we also, it may behoove us to see where the trips and falls happen with the districts around us.
I think Holliston kind of did, Holliston said, yeah, we're gonna do this, and then they said, whoa, that's
Yeah.
not.
I think
Dover Sherman's gonna do it.
Because
Yeah.
it does have a trickle down effect.
No, Acton Bumper, I went to a conference on this, a couple months ago, as you know, like, there are a lot of things that are unexpected consequences, some very good and some not so hot. And it does cost money, and it's funny that the whole discussion, you never wanna think about this in terms of kids, but the whole discussion ends up coming down to buses, transportation. How do we get there? How do we figure out the impact on families across the board? So there's a lot of moving pieces. It's kind of like that graph that you always see where you say, I know everything, and then you say, I know nothing, and then you get to here and you say, it's complicated. And then I think it's really important that we look at the experiences other districts have so that we can kind of mitigate some of that complication. Again, we have a self-funded district. It's very expensive to have falter steps. We want to make sure that we're doing the right thing by our kids.
We're watchful.
We're watchful and we're interested.
And
We haven't lost interest, we just aren't looking to leap.
Well, we've also talked about, making changes and adjustments to the current high school schedule as the first priority, getting that day-to-day schedule, looking at that. And then, once that master schedule gets changed or altered, however it comes out, then looking at the start time, seeing them as kind of two separate issues, because they're both big changes, and just trying to manage that as we go through, it's two big changes.
So from an SEL perspective, to speak, do you have, I'm not saying, I'm not asking, you either come to consensus that says, we think we want to do it, because the administrative side is not necessarily the mission that you guys have. We have to manage through it, but do we want to do it? We're not there yet anyway, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't think we're there.
We just,
I don't think we have all the old idea about how everything works and there's some of the pitfalls that other districts that have gone through it are going to see over the course of time, 2 years, 3 years, I would worry about it.
think even administratively, from what they're seeing in other districts, is the ones that have adopted it, because the kind of practice in teaching the students hasn't really changed. The students are actually staying up later in order to go to school, so it's not actually having kind of the overall effect that some of the schools were hoping for.
Speak global.
It's, yes, and so instead of kind of teaching students why they need more sleep and like, really kind of getting them the skills and understanding of the importance of this and time management, they kind of started, now I get to sleep in a little bit, so I can stay up a little bit later at night. So I think while we see the SEL perspective of things, it's also a culture change in that way. So as Dr. Martin was saying, kind of working within the schedule that we have, can we teach students in different ways without kind of necessarily making that holistic of a change?
I could speak from my time in Sharon, which I know my colleagues are tired of hearing about, but we did it 7 years ago at Sharon High School. They had already done a block schedule change, which is called a modified block. So you cut down those really short passing times and the short periods. And then also an advisory block in the middle as well, that did adjust to that. Now, there were impact on busing and changing start times for middle and elementary schools. So there was a cost, but they chose to do that in the sequence of events. It's part of their culture now. So one to talk to anyway, at least from some of the teachers there.
Thanks, that's good information.
And one of the things I was asking at this conference is, okay, so now that you have been in this for a while, can you talk to me about your data? What does your Metro West Health, survey data look like? What does your SEL data look like? Tell me. And there still isn't a whole lot of data out there specifically for the high schools that have changed within this. And that's one of those things that I really want to see. I would love to see, like if somebody could tell me that starting at half an hour, 45 minutes later, and we would have a significant dip in some depressive symptoms or whatever, I'd be up here dancing on the table, making sure it happens as soon as possible. But I need to see the data. I can dance well. I got that on camera.
I have that visual in my head for that. One other.
You're welcome.
Just tell me, as far as when you go year to year, how do you determine the themes? So those are the 4 themes.
The subcommittee things?
Yeah, because those changed a little bit. Like how do you?
The change was that the year before we had a homework subcommittee looking strictly at homework, right?
So then,
And then once the policy was written, we no longer needed that subcommittee. And which one did we have? Which one? Oh, the curriculum, right. And so we started the curriculum committee this year. So the curriculum committee is in year 1. The other 3 subcommittees just finished year 2.
so theoretically, you keep them.
I think we are going based on need. We'll sit down, the 3 of us, and we'll look at all the slides together, which we'll do, we haven't done that yet. And we'll go through the recommendations, we'll evaluate which of these subcommittees still needs more time. We'll put those out, and as you know, we'll ask the members of the task force which committees they'd like to serve on next year.
Yeah, so you could start in gradual evolution. Is what
Well, we don't keep one that's no longer needed,
Okay.
so based on need. Jeff, anything else?
I kind of wanted to bring into this as you're, welcome, as you're hearing some of these things. Is there anything that's resonating with you as you're thinking about schedule and thinking about your experience in school? Is there anything that you don't have to give us a right answer?
Silly answer.
With the later start times, I'm kind of gotten used to the start time we have now. Obviously, I think a 45-minute late start would be great, but I think that would push everything back. And how I usually am, but also can push back just based on my work. How much you need to complete your, daily schedule for sports and college and also push back. Sorry. So I think it's definitely something to look into. It's not something I feel like I need especially, but if that is something that would make a great impact into our lives, that is definitely something for me.
So again, if it were within, if we kind of just put this one stamped solution on to what you're living right now, then it wouldn't actually be impacting to some extent what you do, because you would be pushing it, but it has to be kind of a global understanding about what we're doing with the curriculum, how we're assigning homework, what we're thinking about athletics, what we're doing.
Everything together, just doing homework thing, especially last year, has been a huge, it's been a noticeable change.
Good.
But, so I think it's just kind of everything together, and if that is one of the things that would, assist us in making school a lot easier, that should be something we look into, but it's not one that it's all fixed here.
Not less rigorous though, right? Not less rigorous. No.
Hey Campbell, so how has the homework policy been noticeably different?
So, when I didn't hear about it, so I kind of noticed it, I was talking to my mom, of course, and, I have noticed a decrease in kind of busy work. I don't know, I originally saw it, I was just wondering, this year I was kind of thinking that I had less homework, and it wasn't really for like, my teachers and all, but then I heard at one of the meetings that you had passed that, homework policy that, so it kind of made a few connections. I think the amount of homework I've had every night, just a lot of the busy work has been eliminated, so that's been great. I feel a lot, more than a great change for this year, so I think it's definitely effective.
Phil and Simone.
And I think there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes in with homework policy, like as we did that, it kind of works hand in hand with some of the child success stuff, like we met with the coaches for all the athletic teams, and we're trying to keep practices at 2 hours or under, and so then that takes a little bit of stress away, and then, so trying to maintain the rigor without overloading the kids so that they can get to sleep, so that they're not up to it, so that, so there's a lot to it.
You always have to bring everybody with you, you can.
I'm just gonna say, I
We're not all
think sleep is
moving
the
in
next
a group.
frontier. Okay, sleep is the
It's
next
not gonna work.
frontier. Thank you.
Thank you very much, again, thank you. Elementary report presentation, can I table that? And then now, we've got our supporting organizations year-end reports. So we have lots of wonderful organizations that support us financially, amongst other things, and we thought we'd invite some of these organizations to give their year-end presentation. So first up is the coalition.
Was another coalition, hasn't it?
Oh, sorry.
Hi, I'm Jamie Boyden from Medfield Coalition. We had a very successful year this year. We were able to fund 34 grants, totaling $127,000. The majority of this went to Memorial and Dale, mainly with the Red Cap speaker system, which we've heard from Dale has had an incredible impact in their classroom, which is really rewarding to hear. Spend per category, again, it's the classroom enhancements, predominantly because of the Red Cap system, but it's still the professional development is also a large one. Total funds raised in order to be able to support these grants. Our biggest fundraiser was the pool ball back in November, which we raised over $50,000. This enabled us, we had a funded grant on the night, so we were able to support science museums to come into every classroom, which was enjoyed by many. We had the usual faithful MCPE trivia night, treasured experiences, spelling bee, the annual appeal, entertainment for education, the Blue Ribbon in Recognition Programme, and of course corporate sponsorship. And from all of that, we were able to raise over almost $133,000. And on the back of your sheet, you can see just the breakdown of every single grant that we were able to report this year.
Thank you so much. So in addition to all the money that the volunteers, the members, the board members, they put a lot of hours into it. It's a great team.
Thank you very much.
And Janie, she rolls off as the president of the MC for her 3 years in service, and
Thank you for your leadership this past couple of years.
Thank you. It is not an easy job to be on the MCP. It's not an easy job to be a parent volunteer in general. I mean, everybody is so invested, but the MCP is a lot of work and consistent and year round. And it's like drinking from a fire hose sometimes. So thank you. I also want to mention that there are 3 of us at this table who did win trivia tonight. I'm not going to mention which 3 of us, but you can guess.
Still champion.
Hilarious. All right, next we've got, where's the Claudia for the K-8 PTO, pretty please.
Just like CCE, we've had a very successful year. We had spent this year over $128,000 on all our schools. Grants funded were over $90,000. So quite a busy year. The biggest chunk of our spend goes to student programs and educational enrichment. We do have, it's about 70%, 25% staff support, and the remainder's other administrative. So the big chunk, like MCPE, is for the educational enrichment piece. We have spent a lot of money on numerous performing arts programs, Arthur visits, but I'll just highlight a few key ones for you guys. The playground shade system at Wheelock, that was about almost $13,000. Long overdue because it gets really hot back there for the kids, so hopefully they can do some outdoor classroom time out there as well in the warmer weather, so that's great. Another big piece, Dale. They have put aside a contingency fund for the new Dale Street School, about $10,000. So when that new school gets up and running, they have extra money. So we feel that there's going to be a lot of need once that school is actually operational. So it's sort of investing in our future type. And other than that, our author visit to Matt De La Pena, that was really nice because it went through all the different schools. So it was really cohesive, and that was really nice to see from elementary on up. That was a big one. We mentioned challenge success. So the middle school is funding the survey. So we're going to start the survey with the middle school. So when they get to the high school, they'll be a benchmark. So that's really key. And other than that, there's been some investments in our Creature Feature electronics this year. So the 7th graders got some new electronics to put into their creatures. I didn't know, I was working on this weekend.
As was I.
They killed me. Crazy. And then we invested some Apple computers. And then the remainder is basically classroom book carts at Memorial, and also at Dale Street some classroom libraries and library grants. So investing across the infrastructure would be good. So that's basically it.
I think that every year when I look at the budget, I look at the MCP and I look at the PTO, and I realize that you guys are the ones who allow us to be the innovative district we perceive to be. Because essentially what we can pay for are teachers, staff, buildings, and curricula. But really, you are the ones who are out there looking and making sure that we're able to present to our teachers, present to our staff, present to people opportunities to expand our kids' education. And I just can't explain to you enough how much I certainly know that I appreciate it, and I think I probably speak for the rest of us.
And I think the quote that really resonates with me is I've heard teachers and administrators say, if you can dream it, we can do it, because of the support that we get from our families and our organizations, so thank you.
And the global initiatives too, the red cats in the classrooms is a lot of districts do not undertake, and it's hard to sell, and so to have an organization do that in a school district this size, it is a very important piece of tech that's in the classroom that will be used every single day, so that's fine.
I'll add, just as a new member to school committee, I'm amazed with seeing the availability of resources that otherwise would be just create a great deal of churn. How are we going to fund it? We saw that within SEL. just one of the programs we were really active in, and said, oh, the PTO is funding a speaker. And just seeing that one time, then we talked about some other areas where we wanted to explore, and they say, we think we can get some funding. So as new to school committee, I just really can't say enough what the others said. It's amazing what people allow us to do. So I say thank you as well.
And I'm gonna read the high school one a little later, but I thought, the MMA committees, the Music Association, I'm Erica Weissler. I'm currently the Vice President and Co-President-elect of the Medfield Music Association. And I'm here on behalf of Kristen Q. Potts, our outgoing co-president, and Lynn Clifford, who will be co-president with me next year, as well as all the rest of the board members. Thanks for inviting us to share with you our contributions during the 2018 and 19 school year. The MMA was founded in 1972, and its purpose is to support music education in the Medfield public school system. We do this primarily through both fundraising and volunteer hours. I'll start first by talking about the volunteer hours we provide, since without these fundraising wouldn't be possible, nor would many of the events which showcase our music students. The MMA manages a group of over 100 volunteers, and we host 4 major events each year. The annual resale in October and November offers students in grades 6 through 12 the opportunity to sell wreaths in order to offset the cost of their music trips. Spaghetti with Santa and Friends in December is targeted to our elementary school families who purchase tickets to dinner in the high school cafeteria, where they get to interact with music students and costume characters. It's our largest and most complicated fundraiser. Acapella night in March, when we invite acapella groups in from other towns to an evening at Medfield High School to showcase their talent along with our Blanket High School acapella groups. And Jazz Night in April is when we typically feature a guest artist along with our own vocal and instrumental jazz groups. This year's artist was Craig Skeffington, a trumpet player, a New England composer, arranger, and educator. He worked with our students during the day and then performed with them that evening. Each of these events requires anywhere from 20 to 70 people to organize and execute. The MMA also helps with many smaller scale needs such as instrumental rental night, uniform try-on night, and home football games for the marching band. Moving on to fundraising, through the events I listed earlier and patron donations, corporate sponsors, and grants, the MMA raised about $32,000 this year, and we spent about $30,000 in the following major areas. Equipment. Our major purchase there was handheld wireless microphones for the choral program, scholarships, both need-based and merit for Blake and high school students, clinicians and coaches for chamber strings and the jazz groups, accompanist for Dale Street Middle School and high school choral groups, educational events, namely the Wheelock Concert Series, and a commissioned work by Medfield composer Justin Casagino, which was debuted at this year's Pops concert. And finally, we sponsored some professional development for our high school and middle school band directors. We continue to be amazed at people's generosity with both their time and money, and we are grateful for the opportunity to work with them and to support our amazing music program. And thank you for your support as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
That piece that Mr. Casagino, I have it phonetically on my sheet. Casagino. Fantastic.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Chorus, orchestra, jazz, it was fabulous. Thank you very much. CPAC.
Thank you for letting us come and share a little bit of what we've been up to this year. And I gave our chair a long form of our summary of the year, and that will also be posted on the website. So if anyone want to take a look at that. I'm stepping off as the president of the CPAC, but will continue as the high school rep and immediate past president of the CPAC, and Bonnie Morissette will take over as president next year. This year really was about transition. So we, again, because I now am going to have a rising senior, I've been involved in CPAC for the last 12 years, and so I've watched 4 transitions of directors, this being my 4th, and I have to say, and I know all of you know this, just what a fantastic job Mary Brule has done this year. It's really remarkable, the grace, the thoughtfulness, the intentionality of each step as she sort of onboarded. It was just a pleasure to get to know her. We're thrilled that she's here. Already we can start to see the fruits of her labor and her work throughout the district, so it's really been wonderful. And that really was our focus for the year, was trying to really start up a wonderful working relationship. And in particular, one of the things that we did is historically the advocacy piece of CPAC, the Special Education Parents Advisory Council, the advising piece, often fell to just a conversation between the president and the director. And we decided that we needed a little bit more transparent and egalitarian approach. And so with Mary's kind offer to meet with us monthly, the board now meets with her monthly privately to really think about some of the opportunities going on in the district, as well as things that we can do as partners. And it gives a broader opportunity for all of us to bring forward concerns, so that not just one group is hearing about, is getting their concerns brought forward to the director. And we did a number of other things, I think, this year, but that certainly was a big time commitment on your part, and we were very grateful for it. So I'll just highlight, just for the sake of time, two other things that we did this year that I think were really helpful. One was all of our principals graciously agreed to come and be speakers on our meeting principals night. So again, a real gift in terms of time and effort on their part. And I think it was very powerful for the families to be able to see all of the principals sitting together and talking about what it meant to take care of special education students in each of the different buildings that we have. Too often, I think, again, we've been hearing, we even had comments tonight about how it can become a very compartmentalized experience for families. And this really helped give an overview so that people had a better understanding of really the ways in which much of what we do actually is seamless and has a through line. That there's really, again, more developmental issues that change from building to building, but the actual intent, the inclusion, is the same across all. And I think it was a real living example, and people really gave us positive feedback afterwards, so that was great. The other really wonderful project that we had was Carrie Curley, who's the chair for the high school, 7 through 12, thank you, did a wonderful job polling students, 100 students that had been part of a transitional meeting on the IEP. As of course the committee is aware, at age 14, students on IEPs are invited to participate in that IEP process. And so we heard some direct feedback from that survey about what it meant to be a student in an IEP. And then we had a panel of parents who were able to present as well and answer questions. We had a really lovely discussion about everything from how do you begin to talk with your child about their diagnosis, what's that look like, as well as what does it mean as a family, again, to work on those transitional pieces with your child as they grow and develop. So again, another good night with lots of feedback, lots of sharing, and I think growth for everyone in the room. So thank you very much for this opportunity to tell you a little bit about what we did.
I've heard people have been, have really felt very welcomed this year, and I hope I have not been able to get to a CPAC meeting because I'm older. But I hope that your attendance has gone up. It sounds to me very much like people are coming and really appreciating your advocacy.
In particular, we've seen a growth of the younger age groups, and that had been our worry for a while, that we didn't perhaps engage throughout all of the grades. So that was a really wonderful thing. And I know some of our other members have attended, so that's wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you. Right now I'll read the high school PTO notes that Kimberly's lovely mother wrote. The high school PTO joined with the other four PTOs and put on a fabulous back-to-school teacher luncheon back in the fall, and also a December teacher appreciation luncheon on the 10th, which is always a huge success. The Warrior football team parents took over this snack shack, and they raised over $5,000 for their program. They provided Spirit Week t-shirts to the students and staff of the high school. And this is the first time I think that a student designed it, right, Campbell? The student designed the t-shirts in years past. I think a parent did it. So they're gonna stick with that tradition and go with the students designing that. The prom bus, I think they were oversold this year, so, they had 5 prom buses, and, next year they will reserve 6. There were 297 kids who chose to take the prom bus, and which is fantastic that they're taking the bus. And they've continued with their scholarships totaling $2,000, awarding 4 graduate seniors. And they're also continuing the tradition of honoring a Teacher Inspiration Award. Last year was Mr. Zach Barrows, and he decided to use his gift for the students with his Modern World Conflicts class. The students do projects on global issues all the time, but he thought it would be rewarding if the students had the opportunity to research organizations working on the conflicts that they studied, and then give the money to the organizations or projects that they believed that were most worthy of their support. And I think that Mr. Barrows will be reporting to the PTO soon as to what the students decided. And they funded 5 grants this year. The World Language AP Spanish program, bringing native speakers to the classroom. Also, the Yogibo cause for the RISE classroom. A 3rd grant for sophomore English seminar, creating small, comfortable environments where struggling learners can meet to prepare for MCAS exams. And another grant was with Dale Street and Medfield High School Literacy Collaboration. 3 high school sociology classes visited 3 elementary schools to share picture books based on themes of social justice and social emotional learning. And the high school students also had assignments in class based on these books. The final grant was funding the Medfield Talks, the Big Disconnect event with Catherine Steiner Adair, who did an excellent job sharing her research around the topic of social media, cell phones, and the impact of our students, which Tim was a part of. And also, last night, next year, can we not have school committee after on recreation? Look at that calendar. Second year in a row.
Thursday nights next year, that's great.
Glory be.
You're all gonna appreciate that, because this is year 3 of being a little dumb.
So last night was all my grad party, class of 2019. The community worked since March to pull together, far beyond that, before that, rather. Pull together a fun-filled childhood TV shows theme night for grads. It was a successful send-off, and thank you so much to Tracy Fedak and Tracy Rogers for their 5 years of hard work to give the graduates an unforgettable night. And the baton will now be passed on to Kim Price and and they're already looking for 2020 volunteers. And then I have a nice little note that Kim Price and Janie wrote in appreciation for the 2 Tracys that I'll read later. And last, the Theater Society, written by Kim Price. She said, they have 3 performances: Midsummer Night's Dream. They sold 535 tickets. Big Fish, 962, and Medfield After Dark, which is written by students, 304. They totaled in donations $9,275, and their expenses were $7,990. The Friends, along with MMA, and an anonymous donor, purchased a new sound system for the auditorium. Friends also purchased rechargeable batteries and chargers. The society pins and lanyards were purchased by the Friends. This year they changed the traditional lettering system. NHS Society lanyard was purchased for each member of the society. Each member that fulfilled all requirements for a show received a unique pin for the completion. Cast and crew received new pins and stars. The Mad Cast received We Are All Mad Here pin. There were 7 seniors that received Clean Sweep pins, which meant they were either in the cast or crew for all 3 productions of their 4 years at NHS. No easy tasks! ! Big Fish had actors with up to 5 costume changes. Friends purchased to storage rooms for each of them. At the end of the school year, the new trailer will be installed that will be shared with Lake Middle School Theater. Much needed storage for all. Miscellaneous items that have been purchased by friends, memory cards for cameras, programs for the shows, the P.O. box, Medfield booth. Other items she notes here is they provide meals for cast and crew during Tech Week. And sometimes the kids are there till 10 p.m. or later, and a parent will host a cast crew party home on Saturday night after their performance for each show, and the friends pay for the food provided to the students. And I want to say again, thank you to all the organizations who support our school system. Thank you very much. Phew, thank you.
It's a lot.
It sure is.
I'll do a lot.
A whole lot of love there. Next, speaking of love, now, Medfield after school program presentation.
Hi, welcome. My name is Annette Gallagher. I'm at Medfield, and I love to get faces because you're for Matt families. So I'm here tonight. I am currently the assistant executive director because Dave Shannon, our executive director, who's been here for 29 years, has decided to retire. Not 100%, just she'll be hanging around, the office manager, there to support me and give me all the information that I don't know. So that's kind of a wonderful thing because it'll make for a nice smooth transition. And we also have some parent board of directors here tonight. Jane Resch, Sarah Hurd, and our program directors, Megan Jackson, Alex Sakash, and Kurt Jackson. So we have a nice team to support tonight. But basically our reason for asking to come tonight was just to say thank you for your support and your relationship with us over the past 30 years. I don't know, none of you were here then, but I wasn't here either, that Matt first started by leasing the cafeteria space at the Memorial School for $1. How's that? They had 17 kids their first year, and our program has just grown over those 30 years. So now we have approximately 350 students, and that's kindergarten through 6th grade, and that's about 25% of the K through 6 population, which is kind of amazing. So we get a nice decent sized group of kids that we get to have an impact on. And most of you know we have, MAP is kind of set up with each of the different schools. So we have a building over at Memorial, a building over at Wheelock, and we utilize the FAC Center for our 4th through 6th grade program. But being right there at the schools is the best for us. It gives us the opportunity to utilize shared space, age-appropriate playgrounds, have conversations with the school teachers and aides about kids' days when they're having a good day or not so good day. It just provides a nice connection for us between the school and the space that we both care for so much about. So nice and short and sweet, we just wanted to say thank you, and that we hope as you move forward with the potential school building project and as the needs of the community grow, that you kind of keep just MAP in mind, because we really appreciate being a part of the community and the working relationship that we have with the school. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And I just have a little flyer and stuff for you to look at later that people worked on for us. Awesome. Thank you so much.
I just want to reiterate the word you used, relationship. I think with all these organizations and with MAP, you know, we're all on the same team. And so thank you.
Yeah, it's so important because having those relationships, I mean, they're all the same kids. They walk out of the school, they walk over to MAP, we still walk back into school with them, but it's those relationships we have together to do the best we can for the kids that we all care so much about. Thank you.
Beautiful. Other items since posting on the video?
Madam Chair, I shared with the committee an email that I received on Friday evening notifying us that the MTA union had ratified the 8th teacher assistant contract. So that was done after it was posted, but since then I want to ask you to ratify the contract. The contents of the contract are essentially what we've been talking about for the last 4 or 5 months or so. We were able to come to an agreement at the end of March. In the last, I would say, 4 or 5 weeks, we've been just trying to hammer out the language in the contract. We've gone back and forth a couple of times. Finally, had our last meeting, which we solidified everything last week. So I think it's ready to go. We just need the approval. And then if you do vote to approve this evening, you can sign the contract and you're ready to go. We did agree that, we agreed in principle at the end of March, so that there'd be retroactive pay from today to that March date.
What was the 20?
June 26th, I think.
Right, somewhere in there.
I think that's what it was. So I ask that you vote to approve the contract that was ratified by the union last week.
Motion to approve the aforementioned contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, now you can apply.
Thank you very much. Alrighty, old business, Dale Street project?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, about an hour before our meeting, Michael and I and next women returned back from Boston. We had an appointment with MFPA today. Essentially, our owner's project manager that we chose had to do a presentation to MFPA, and it was their subcommittee that approved them to be our owner's project manager. So it went very well, very few questions. Medfield is the company that we are going with, that's the name of them. They've done many projects. They're currently doing the Berkeley High School is their major project they're working on right now. But Tim Monfly is also there as part of the permanent building committee. His company actually had the meeting prior to that, so he stayed and was part of ours as well. So it was great to have that Tim there as well. It went well. I think we're looking at putting Michael with the omnibus for design. Architect design, looking to do that next. That's our next hurdle. But they're going to start working on the feasibility study, pretty soon. And they're looking at about an 18-month time frame to complete all that with design. So again, they reminded us today that we cannot come. MSBA will not let us go for full funding until after July 1, 2020. So we're looking at somewhere in the October, November, December 2020 to go to a special town meeting to ask the allocation money, because there's a whole lot of work to do before we get to that point. And the feasibility study is part of that, which as we discussed earlier, and Tim had recommended again today, to make sure that September, October of this year, we start with a focus group with parents, try to get it in the community, try to get their input, see what they look for. Especially the first thing they have to get is whether it's going to be a 4-5 or a 3-4-5. We've been pretty clear about wanting a 3-4-5 based on the data that we have, but we need to hear from the community to see that's something that they want to pursue, because the cost differentiation of those two is a lot. A 4-5 would be much more expensive than a 3-4-5, based on square footage. So we need to get input from the community and see where they are, and then start making those decisions in the first year so that we can move forward with that and get that whole design started and get it all wrapped up for a presentation.
I mean, I think a lot of this has to do with education too, and I don't know the details because I'm not on this committee, but really thinking about some of the challenges we've had with the current school buildings and in general projects, and whether we are thinking about, we look at the price tag of 3, 4, 5 and we say, whoa, no way, but we are being at that point penny wise and pound foolish, and really looking at some of the long term. We expect to keep a building for as long as Medfield keeps buildings, and the realities of climate change and everything else that are happening right now, and population growth, and the hospital that we are not even putting into the numbers that we are getting in terms of population. We need to be really thinking about the future and not thinking about what would be the most expedient. And there will be a lot of things coming out. At that same time, the manganese plant that looks like it's coming pretty soon. a couple of other things, so.
Not to mention, I don't know if anyone was able to stop off and grab some balloons from open houses over the weekend, but I don't think there are, empty nesters moving into the area for anything.
I did not look today because I'm too tired to count. Every morning I look,
Just count the number of
73.
vendors on the market. So that
I don't even care about houses anymore, I care about how many bedrooms. Because I know that we are
There's a 6-bedroom
incapable.
across the street from me, Jess. if you
I
wanna
know,
visit.
I've seen it, it's actually quite lovely. Yeah, no, we just seem to be incapable of keeping a guest room anymore, so, like, we have bedrooms, we need to expect that many kids. It's the fluctuation of population, it seems to happen about every 20 years around here, so.
So I have nothing new there, we're still, we're kind of waiting, in August we'll have a number for what the new movements are, but as Leo said, based on the amount of open houses and for sale signs, we anticipate that number to go up. Again, we're still at that spot we were last time we had 6 open spots for full-day kindergarten, and I think only 13 registered for halfway, so there's definitely room for growth, unless it's an enormous amount of growth like we got a couple of years ago, so.
We only have 13 registered parents as of today.
Yeah.
Is it true, and just in terms of our numbers planning, traditionally, I know, it worries you, I understand. It worries me too. But it is true that if a family moves into the district and they have signed a P&S, or they've signed a rental agreement, we would rather know about that now than when they
Right.
actually close.
Right.
Because that allows us to make better placement arrangements.
And we
allows us to
typically
predict
allow
these
kids
things.
with PNS to commit.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to hold a child back in starting a new year, waiting for that closing date, it doesn't make any sense at all. So when they have a signed PNS and they give us that, then they can register.
I'm seeing a lot of parents who are, the first contact they have with the community is on social media. And if they're really thinking about, and we don't know of them yet,
Right.
it would be very helpful
Right. Very
to
helpful.
kind of put those things out.
Very helpful. In having the central registry that we did last year,
Right.
establishing that has really helped us out with numbers. So we're not having kids register or parents running around to 4 or 5 different schools. So now it's one place, they go there, they make an appointment, register all their kids at once, and we get the data in one right away. So that's what we're going for.
Well, not that I'm opposed to full-day math, full-day K, by the way, but I have heard that because of the one whole math program here, that lots of people do half-day K and half-day math, and have a wonderful experience. So just will say that, about the math programs and things.
Thanks,
Which is absolutely true, but are you booked up at this point? You guys you have waiting lists going on, right?
For full day K.
For full day K, right?
And the other grades, but for half
For
day K.
half day, you
yes.
still have open? Great,
Yeah.
good to know. Let's say it in public meeting.
Awesome. Trustees? Yeah. FY20 budget update?
So in your packet, you had a memo from Michael and I that talks about prepayment tuition prior to school. So section 71D of Mass General Law talks about the school committee having authorized prepayment of these. So if you remember when we made our final cuts at the end of this FY20 budget, we did $85,000 cut. We said we're going to prepay those tuitions, that's how we did it. So we broke down the total tuition cost, the monthly cost, and the 3-month cost of that. It comes out to be $87,358.24. So we're requesting that from the FY19 operating budget to pay for, to prepay the FY20 out of this. That does need school committee approval. I'd ask if you
So moved.
Second?
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
it's something we talked about when we were about
That was budget for Peter, this is Paul.
Donations?
I have it, it's just in one of these files, like looking at my desk. So I ask you to approve the following donations for Wheelock School, $292.87 donation from A+ School Rewards Stop and Shop Program deposited into Wheelock School gift account. For Dale Street School, $1,000 donation from Mr. Raymond Sherlocken to Dale Street School in memory of his late wife Darla, who was a former Dale Street librarian, employee, excuse me. Blake Middle School, $165.95 from the A+ School Rewards Stop and Shop Program, $875 from Blake PTO for creature feature transportation, $894.80 from Blake PTO for year-end luncheon, $2,498 from Blake PTO for two iMac retinas, $50 from Wells Fargo matching gifts, $50 from Wells Fargo Community Support Program, and we had an additional one come in. And Francie, I know you put it in mind, but I don't know if it was over $8,000. It was an $8,000 donation from Medfield Youth Basketball from Blake Middle School for a new blind in the gym, which is definitely problematic for our kids and certainly for youth basketball when they're playing. So I asked to approve all of those as shared.
So moved.
Give a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful.
Some clarification on the creature feature.
Oh, the creature.
Jeff, do you want to talk about it since you were working on this?
You know, I want to. So the creature feature is essentially it's essentially a project that is meant to bring in math and English. And somebody else correct me if I'm missing things, but so the students develop a story within English, which they write a story. Cam, you're not so far out from this. And then within the math curriculum, they essentially put together and measure and graph out shapes and make a creature that goes with their story. That within the last couple of years, because I remember funding this through the MCPE, putting in electronics and kind of trying to add more of a STEM aspect to it as well. And then they go and present them to frequently their younger siblings' classrooms or other classrooms throughout the district and across elementary, all 3 elementary schools.
Cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know
it's pretty cool.
Godzilla was involved.
Well, there is some possibility that somebody could
Dating
mistake
myself
what
on the
we
creature
did
double
for
feature.
Godzilla, but yeah.
Thank you.
It's definitely a rite of passage, kind of it is, and it involves a lot of spray paint.
Super.
We're duct tape, we're there, like, some of them.
So we've got our June school committee workshop planning on for June 20th. I wanted to know about timing. Like what, because I think you've got something on in the morning from Marisa. So what would be good for folks on June 20th for our workshop?
Let's talk a little bit about block of time. How long do we think we can go, remain on task and not? What are you thinking?
Well, I've never
Having never done this is
one of
fun.
these or done one of these, but I was thinking a couple of hours.
2 to 3 hours.
Yeah. Let's schedule 3, because we can always scale back.
Yeah.
And you have something in the morning, so,
When do you think you'd be back in Boston? Medfield? Because you're with Boston, right?
Right. Be back by 1:30 probably.
Should we say 2 or 2:30 to be safe?
Sure.
so 2 to 5, can you?
2 to 5
do that?
would work. I could do that.
Everybody here, we're all parents as well.
10,
Yeah, that's okay.
back to work.
Yeah, problem with that.
I believe that's math week for us, so thank you again.
I no longer get those.
So 2 to 5 on the 23rd.
Okay.
Okay. And I called the MASC today, the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, because I mean, this workshop idea came from Jess and Jeff, I believe, and I thought the self-evaluation element was an important one. So they had a ton of stuff, and I kept saying, we've never done this before. So he said, all right, let's back up. And so I have here our school committee self-evaluations one of our many working documents. Is that cool?
That's fine, and not showing them to each other before that
No, no,
point
no,
at
no,
all,
no,
because
this
that
is-
would be sharing information outside.
Just for you, so, Jess, if you could please.
Absolutely, thank you.
And then I just wrote, and Tim sent me an email after the last school committee meeting, just you wrote down all the things we had talked about for workshop themes, and I think we had a lot of things on them, but if we could, we have two ways of going about this. One, we'll do our self-assessment, and things based on the assessments will kind of bubble up, hopefully, in terms of working on our goals perhaps for next year. I think we talked this morning, and that, when Dr. Marsden gives us his goals and the other administrators and the teachers, that in the fall, we would have our goals ready to be shared. We'll develop them. And so,
October's up.
yes, that'll be goal one. And these were just some of the topics we talked about, and I'll pass those down too. So yeah, two ways of doing this that I thought. So, we go into it, we've got, and I worked on this a little bit more, so it's a little clearer. But I thought it might be more efficient if each of us, we either worked individually or in pairs on a topic, so we're going into this with everybody's got some skin in the game, so to speak, and everyone can kind of contribute to the workings of the workshop. And so, or we just go into it and just kind of figure it out. But I personally found that very inefficient, and I'd rather get work done instead of talking about getting work done. So, do you guys have any feedback as to, Deb, I think you said you had workshops you've done. I don't know if folks here have done them in the past. I haven't.
Do an icebreaker for you.
No, no
Not good
icebreakers.
enough.
My icebreakers are really good. Say them.
So to clarify, are you asking us to identify what areas we kind
Yes.
of want to go?
Yes, exactly. And then, so for example, let's use the bus fees as an example. All right, so this would be the start of our deep dive, so to speak. All right, perhaps gather some, ask Michael, can we have a listing, and I think he's already given it to us, bus fees for the local areas that already charge a bus fee. Maybe talk to reach out to a district, how did you implement? Maybe find out a school district who recently implemented bus fees. How did they go about it? What were the pros, what were the cons? If you were to do it all over again, what would you do differently? So again, learning from folks who have done it, so to speak, and also asking, I think you did it at Rentham, you implemented it. So that's just one example. And then you would come to the meeting and basically present your findings, and then you can have an efficient dialogue about, are we going to go forth with this, or are we just going to drop this like a lead balloon kind of a thing?
I'm interested, I'd be willing to step up and say that I'd be interested in thinking about, particularly if we could discuss this, Jeff, around strategic planning, kind of where we are with 2021, which we know about, but really how do we start to make the next steps and look at the areas that we might think about wanting to carry forward as we're thinking about goals. I'm happy to do that. And I've had some thoughts about because I'm particularly invested in this, around fundraising for scholarships, for angel funds, and finding new revenue for students to make sure that every student has opportunities that all the other students have in our schools. So I'd be interested in at least giving that some significant thought.
Great, because I see this really as planting seeds. And then some of these we're going to go deeper into, and
And
others.
some we'll have to prioritize out
Yes,
for a little bit, but
exactly.
And I mean, so you're kind of saying each one of these topics, one of us almost organizes, call it the agenda or research beforehand, or we all.
Exactly. So everybody is contributing time and energy and kind of getting their own little, developing their expertise, so to speak, and can really do this.
so I'm happy to take on those two
I'm shooting hogs up anymore.
I know.
I'm gonna.
Well, you're certainly welcome to join me as well.
I've already done a little research.
I can contribute.
Oh, so, all right, Megan.
Coffee or something.
Yeah, I was thinking that, particularly since it's such a district-wide thing, we need to be thinking about what our part of the strategic plan is, that three of us could do some work around
Sure.
it. Yeah.
And the curriculum is of interest to me as well, but again, it could be a joint operation.
I actually have interest in the goals and eval.
Okay,
So,
so I think we can work together on that?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
And I can also work with, Jess with the Angel Fund and the volunteers. I've had discussions with Matt already regarding some new fundraisers for Angel Fund.
I'm kind of looking at kind of the policy
Yeah.
implications around that as well. What about curriculum? Were you giving your, and would that be something that'd be interesting
Leo said.
to you? Well, Leo,
I think we
and
can,
it's a
I
big,
think people, yeah, because
we can overlap.
people compare and overlap a little bit.
Yeah, just as long as you're not working in teams of three.
Never.
Yeah, the other one I was interested in anyways, I was writing down the different grants and funds that come in, the debt, so the volunteers and resources, just donations.
Okay, so we're Megan.
Pairing up with, did someone else?
I was good with General Angel Fund, and I could do volunteers and resources, or you and Megan could work on.
Well, what I had written down was
Yeah.
Jess, was Jess and Megan on the Angel Fund,
Mhm.
and then I have Megan and Tim on the volunteers and resources.
Okay.
Did he
I was
say
curriculum.
volunteers?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, you said volunteers resources.
Well, you know, I'll do whatever you want.
And I can take that.
Well, I mean,
You
yeah.
said into a fund because you worked with Nat, right?
Buses.
Yeah, how much are you gonna do here, Megan?
I see what it says. I said buses first.
While you're at it, you also do.
Because you're on for 4, and I thought I was stepping up.
Well, I can go
Well, it's
off.
all about, divide and conquer. So can I?
What are you doing?
I'm reading. I fill in. So I'm gonna do the calendar. Megan's gonna do the bus fees. Strategic plan, we've got Jess and Leo, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then on school committee goals, Eval, Amaro, and Tim. Curriculum, I've got Leo and Megan. General Angel Fund, Jess and Megan.
Mhm.
And volunteer resources, Tim. All right, I think that's good.
When do we leave parent engagement?
Well, I think that's kind of, we can dabble in that. That's fine.
I mean, I think that we can think about, that seems like one that we can really be thinking about as it comes out of the rest of this.
I think it's just all intertwined.
Right.
Engagement, have we seen presentations today?
Sorry? Yeah, I'm not going to that level, sorry. All right,
That's good.
so does that work, folks?
Yeah.
That sounds like a game plan? Awesome. So superintendent reports, what can you information on this?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In your packet was a letter from Women's Association of Schools and Colleges, the after call. So this was a letter that Robert got, just giving us an update on where they are in the process. So at their meeting on the 7th and 8th of April, they reviewed the information that was sent to them from Medfield High School to list all the things that they commended us on, which is great. And then looking at their visit, which is going to be coming in October 25th to October 28th, 2020, is their visit they're coming on site. So they've really changed the process on this a lot. The old NEAS process was you would spend an entire year doing a self-study, looking at your programming, looking at everything. You would spend a fortune having the NEAS team come, and they would spend a week there, and you'd have to pay for the hotel, meals, transportation, everything. And then they'd go through that whole process, you'd wait a long time, and you get the report, and you finally get your accreditation. So they've really streamlined it a lot because districts were pushing back saying, listen, we have all this regulation from DESE and everyone else. Why are we going through this and spending all the money? We get this abuse for free. Why do we need to have someone pay for it? So NEAS went back and they've redone their entire process, which has been really good. And the goal is for them to make it helpful for us to self-evaluate and make improvements in our district, and make improvements especially at the high school. So that's, just to give you an update, Robert's gonna come in the fall and give another update to the whole committee on where we are, where we stand, et cetera. But the high school teachers did a great job this past year, working real hard on developing, doing all the work with the self-study. They should really be commended for the amount of work that they put into this, so that I'm not surprised to see that they've been commended at all these areas. So just want to keep you in the loop on that, and get Robert will be here in the fall. to update everybody.
Future agenda items, FY20 budget, and Medfield 2021 goals 3, 4, 5. Our next meeting is the 20th, as we talked about, a workshop 2 to 5. And youth closing statements, Kimball.
Just as those you know, because I saw a lot of you did too, graduation on Sunday. And student council over the past few weeks has been handing out brag signs, which by now it's all been down the lawn and everything.
Right next to the for sale sign. Same one.
Even I didn't go there.
And we just had the student government elections, so the sophomores, juniors, and upcoming seniors, so all those will have in positions now. And student council elections are happening this week, and as you all know, school is nearly finished, it's the last week of ready for the schedule, so I'll kind of wind them down. For now.
Welcome to your official new role.
Next time you come in, you'll have a name call.
Yeah, really official way then.
Appreciate you coming today.
Thanks, Kimball. Do you have anything? I know this one.
Just kidding.
Tim?
Nothing formal, just I guess a word of gratitude. Right, we started with the retirees, and there's nothing like seeing the ceremony at the beginning. The life of this place. I think the volunteer organizations were fantastic, including MAP, which again, there's so much appreciation for. The folks from ASEL have been a big part of that. Everything we're seeing was a great way, I think, to wrap up the year, but just a word of gratitude for everyone who contributed to today's meeting, and obviously many years going backwards as well.
Agreed. That was my first Medfield High School graduation yesterday, and it was awesome, moving, great speakers. And I know that we've been uber focused on, rightly so, the students and their accomplishments, but this was a great opportunity to also highlight the parent volunteers and administrators and just the great work that's being done in order to showcase integrity and just compassion as adults to our children, and just making great things happen. And,
I can echo that as well, and just the full breadth of all the volunteerism in the community is amazing. Still really sad about the Red Cats, it's a long story, but I love
No,
those.
it's a great thing. It's helped us a lot.
And I would say, wonderful way you handled your speech yesterday, MMA. You're wonderful, that was really good, and I was blown away by the speeches, actually by the students. Absolutely, really great, well-written, and great messages yesterday, so, and great weather, and it helped out, so, thank you for the community, and it's all these little things working together, cohesively, it's not always smooth, but, it's still wonderful to see in action, and it continues to grow every year.
Every time I see a student speech, I like to step back and remember that they are representative of every single student who has been through our schools, and that every single one of our students could come to us with a story very much like that. And I always think it's important, they're the three that do the speech and have worked very hard to make that happen. But every single one of our kids who is walking across that stage that day has had accomplishments that maybe they never expected to have, and hard days that they never expected to have. And they could all make that speech in one way or another in their own voice. So that's one of the reasons I love graduation, and that is one of the reasons that I try to get to entering kindergarten night every year, because to see that spectrum is just astounding. It's amazing where our kids go over those 13 years.
All right, so I am going to read this letter that Jamie and Kim wrote in honor of the two Tracys, Tracy Rogers and Tracy Bedak, who have led all-night graduation for the past 5 years. We would like to thank Tracy Rogers and Tracy Bedak for their many years of dedication to the all-night grad party. They have created countless memories that will last a lifetime for our seniors throughout the years. This is pathetic. Their creativity, organization, and passion was noticed immediately when the students walked into the party for the first time as they looked around in a state of awe. They made sure there was a safe and inclusive environment for all graduating seniors to go to from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. every graduation night for the past 5 years. They have led over 400 volunteers for each party and encouraged them to dream big and create amazing things. Anything is possible with the Tracys leading. Thank you, Tracy and Tracy, for all your memories. We hope to get a chance to see and enjoy the beautiful sunrise just like the seniors. Kim Price and Jamie Boylan, AMGP co-chairs for 2020 and beyond. Thank you. Thank you. I just want to also note, senior project night was at the high school a couple of years, and I'm so grateful. I have a problem. Anyway, you know, the kids, their senior year, Campbell, I don't know if you'll take advantage of this, but the independent study is such a fantastic thing. And I think when the students have an opportunity to explore curiosities and end up with an end project, it's amazing. So they had 3 or 4 bands perform, so they wrote all the music, the lyrics, they produced it, they set up with all the scrap speakers. I didn't say crap, I said scrap, speakers. And they had a concert, a couple of these bands made a couple of albums, and they're all on that, what's that cloud thing?
SoundCloud.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm still catching up. But it was so amazing that, to think, I'm so grateful that our school offers that opportunity, and so anyways, and
Dream big and we'll make it happen.
totally, so it's awesome. And I'm psyched for the senior class gift, which is, they announced, is an outdoor classroom for the high school. So that's really great, and, all right, it's late.
We just want to recognize our seniors for another wonderful graduation yesterday. We spend a lot of time in the week up into graduation with different events, and to see them walk across and to see like little kids at 4 Kicks on Friday night running around and playing, and it's just a great week, and it really puts it all in perspective. And I just love this week. It's busy. You don't see your own family at all because you're out doing all of that stuff, but it's just a great week. And then also just echo what everyone said about the volunteers. You listen to those reports tonight and you see the numbers, and we all know what the budget looks like and all the detail that we go through and what we try to get in that we can and so on. They pick up the slack for us every year. It's wonderful, and it's the presentations tonight that make this place so special. So I just want to thank all of them as well.
We know how much work it is.
Great.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I second it.
Awesome, thank you.
Right.
Thank you, folks.
You're watching Medfield TV.